Good afternoon, everyone. This is Senate Education. It is Thursday, February 25th. We are in the process of hopefully cleaning up, making final edits, working toward resolving some last minute questions on a number of different bills as we approach the end of the week and town meeting week. And then upon our return, the last week before crossover. With that, we have Mr. Anderson with us for about 25 minutes or so. And so I thought we would take the time and look at the S26 again. This is the act relating to the working group of the status of libraries in Vermont and the Department of Libraries. The corner office knows that we'll be folding this, likely cultural liaisons and feminine hygiene products into one miscellaneous education bill that we hopefully will be ready to vote tomorrow. We had a lot of conversations or a lot of testimony on libraries now a while back. I did receive an email from Senator Chittenden, and Senator Chittenden, I'm sorry to not putting you on the spot. If you need more time, please feel free to take it. But I do know that you sent me an email about a possible edit, possibly adding, a constituent had reached out to you about adding membership to this. And so this would be a good time after we hear just, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Anderson, just a quick, again, 30,000 foot overview of what we're doing here would be helpful. We had a lot of testimony, and I don't think we're really in controversial territory, but it would be great if you could just review for us.
Sure. Good afternoon, Tucker Anderson with the Office of Legislative Counsel. The 30,000 foot view is that the bill would establish a working group consisting of 11 members that represent various levels and forms of libraries throughout the state. That would begin to investigate and eventually report on the status of libraries across multiple subjects, from programmings and collections to structural integrity of buildings. It's really a broad view of the status of libraries and their programs in Vermont. The process takes, I believe, around 1.5 years before completion, and a report is given back to the General Assembly, both on the current overall status of Vermont libraries, specific findings related to those, the status of those libraries, and new additional pieces on the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on Vermont's libraries. You heard some testimony from individuals who work in this area around what this could mean for Vermont's libraries and potentially an interconnected system moving forward once this kind of library census is complete. And that's the high level overview of what is happening. The latter sections of the bill deal with technical corrections and cleanup work around the printing and distribution of state publications and collections of the Department of Libraries. And that has been an area of Vermont statute that has been in flux, particularly over the last 6 years, as the roles of the state librarian, the Department of Libraries, the Board of Libraries, and the Vermont State Archives have been more refined and clarified.
Terrific. Any questions for Mr. Anderson? Senator Lyons.
So the bill that what we have before us is still the bill as introduced. We don't have any amendments or changes to that language yet?
That's correct. We don't have any amendments or changes yet. I believe Senator Chittenden is going to propose one, but that's where things stand right now. Senator Chittenden.
So I'm actually referencing an email all of us received. So it was sent to us from Kevin Unrath. He strongly supports this legislation. I can share the screen or just mention he has one strong recommendation of adding a board member from the Green Mountain Library Consortium. So I don't have any objections to that. It seems to be a reasonable request. Otherwise I'll re-forward this to all of you, but that was the email I think you're referencing, Senator Campion.
It is. Does anybody have any objections to that?
I don't know who they are, so, but I don't object. I mean, if Senator Chittenden is recommending it, it's got to be good.
Oh, jeez, great.
Do-
Senator Hooker, please.
Does Senator Chittenden know who they are?
So I do know Kevin Unrath. And he is the director of the Pearson Library in Shelburne and the president of the Vermont Library Association. So he seems very well informed of the matter. I'm going to re-forward this email to all of you right now.
Okay, and the Green Mountain Library Consortium, I assume, is a group of libraries, but I'm just curious to know who they are.
It includes a link to their website.
Thank you.
Let me, Mountain Library. Yes, there is a link, and I'm just pulling it up just so we can get a little bit information in real time.
I know that the name is printed on my library card, so I can be helpful saying that.
That's all the testimony I need to hear then, Mr. Anderson. It does look like is just that. It's the consortium of libraries. It looks like just briefly, but we can dig more into it for the state of Vermont. And it looks like there are different ways to share materials, order materials, things like that at a quick glance. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what I'm gleaning from it.
I see that it's 15 libraries dealing with audio books, sharing of audio books.
I'm going to say, why don't we see if we can get, is it Kevin? Senator, is his first name Kevin? Yeah.
Kevin Unrath is who the email
Yeah,
is.
why don't we see if we can get Kevin in for about 5 minutes. If you would email him, Jeannie, that would be great. We can get him in later today.
I'm
If
sorry,
not-
Senator, I was otherwise occupied, so I didn't catch
Oh.
who you were.
So we have a request to hear from, I believe he's the director of the Library Consortium in Vermont. Senator Chittenden will send you an email that will have his email in it. If you would see if he might be available sometime this afternoon for about 5-10 minutes, that would be great as we're looking at S3rd 26. If not, maybe find 5 or 10 minutes tomorrow.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
We also had an email from Mr. Broughton in testimony about the 2 assistant librarian that, I guess the Department of Libraries had asked for 2 assistant librarians to add to the working group study. And he wasn't here when, I think, in the committee when they suggested that. So he sent an email suggesting that, that he supported that. So I didn't know if I wanted to address that request.
No, thanks. I appreciate you raising it. So this would be adding, would you mind reiterating? I do remember seeing an email exchange. But do you mind reiterating what his request is?
Yeah, it says additionally, there is a request by the Department of Libraries to include the 2 assistant librarians into the working group study bill. And then he lists the reasons. The 2 assistants, their librarians should be members of the committee because of the services that the Vermont Department of Libraries provides in each of their areas and at the heart of the study bill. He goes on to talk about why he thinks they should be added. So I don't know if we could also try to get Mr. Boughton on, or.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to also email him. I appreciate you bringing this up very much. And would you also, Jeannie, ask Mr. Boughton to come back in this afternoon or tomorrow as we make our way with this? My only reservation in all of this is it's starting to get to be a very, very big committee. But I think we'll give these folks the opportunity to make their case and see if the committee wishes to grow it. I mean, I think right now, Mr. Anderson, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but I think we're getting up somewhere to like 15 members or something like that.
If you added the members that are being requested, it would be 14. And that was one of the notes I was going to have about adding new members, is whether you want to have an even or odd numbered working group. I don't know if it matters because they're not a legislative body, but that could put some lock in the voting on certain issues in the report.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I mean, I for one would lean toward having it odd, but we'll see what direction the committee wants to go in. Anybody want to hear from anyone else on libraries, or do we feel as though we're in pretty good shape? We'll hear from those two individuals. And we'll see if Jeannie can get them in this afternoon, later this afternoon. or-
Senator Campion, will you see the chat that I just sent you, please?
Sure. Yeah, Jeannie, we're looking to have Mr. He was a former witness. If you look under S26, the library bill, you'll see a Mr. Boughton. I think that's how it's pronounced. Boughton, perhaps. Thank you. If you would ask him to come in this afternoon for about 10
Sorry,
minutes.
can you repeat his name?
Sure. It's Boughton. I believe it's Boughton. You'll
Oh,
find
yes.
under S26.
He's the state librarian, I believe.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Just put it in the chat.
Great. Thank you, Senator Perschlick. Great. So I think with that, with those final questions still outstanding, any other concerns with libraries and S26? Okay, seeing none, we will then hear from those individuals later today, hopefully, and hopefully fold that into the miscellaneous education bill. Another part of miscellaneous education, Mr. Anderson, thanks very much. Appreciate you being here, especially from your remote location. If you're comfortable in trusting of us, of me in particular, I can loop back to you after we hear from these individuals to let you know what the edits might be. I don't think there's any need for you to come back at this point, knowing particularly that you have a busy afternoon ahead of you.
Thank you for having me in, and I do trust you, so I'll wait for your word. Thank you all.
All right, thanks a lot, I appreciate it. So S32, we also have heard now some real testimony, significant testimony on this. This is feminine hygiene products and school wellness. Many of you probably saw that Senate Finance passed out a bill yesterday, also on feminine hygiene products, removing the tax from them. Seems like a great bill. Really appreciate Senator Lyons' leadership on this. I'm wondering if Senator Hooker would raise, not to put you on the spot, but Senator Hooker, would you raise your request on this so that we can have a little committee discussion before we leave for the joint assembly?
I received a request to change the term feminine hygiene products to menstrual products, primarily because it seemed that to say hygiene indicated something unclean. So I just passing that on as a request. And
Can you share from whom the request came?
it was from Gail Zatz. Who
Is that a constituent?
she is a mom.
Great.
And
Great. Okay. Important. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Senator Lyons, I'm looking to you on this for your input and your thoughts.
I think it's a great idea.
Great.
Right. I mean, the historical, the history of women in science and nursing is just rampant with prejudice against menstruation. So I think making sure that it appears as what it is, something natural and clean, is very important. So thank you, Senator Hooker.
Yeah. And please thank, is it Ms. Zach as well as for bringing it forward. Committee, any discussion on that or any concerns? Otherwise, Mr. Demaray will make that edit throughout the bill. Right. Okay, so we will fold that also into miscellaneous education. The final piece with miscellaneous education is the cultural liaisons bill that Senator Rahm and many people of this committee put forward. We've heard some testimony. I do have an email, or Jeannie has an email into a cultural liaison. I don't think we've heard back from her yet, but hopefully we'll hear back from her and she can come in later today or tomorrow.
Senator Campion, she
yeah.
is on the agenda for this afternoon, and I have heard from her.
Terrific. So she's, okay, great. I just saw invited, so I didn't know if she was
Yeah,
a definite.
I only
Great.
just heard from her.
Wonderful. So we hopefully will be able to talk directly to a cultural liaison this afternoon and fold what I think is a really great, great bill into miscellaneous education. I do recognize miscellaneous education is going to have a lot of good work that is coming from 3 key senators. And I will point that out when we get to the floor that really this, and a lot of this is really the Lyons-Rahm-Hardy bill. When this kind of thing happens, I just don't want to lose the recognition and the work that these individuals have put into this kind of thing. So I appreciate their flexibility in allowing us to move in this direction. Anything else before we take a break? When we return, we will pick up literacy and our edits on that. And then we will also hear from our cultural liaison, whom I believe is from Winooski, but I don't recall. Anything else? Okay, Senator Perchlik was in the building today in our committee room, and it was good, great. Nothing to report there. All right, well, thanks everybody. We'll see everyone, let's say 10 minutes after the fall of the gavel in the assembly, and we'll return to Mr. Demaray. And Mr. Demaray, that works for your schedule?
It does, yeah.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, I think we can, I think we'll, Jeannie, do you want us to log off and then log back in?
Please.
That's the